Welcome. Let's see, everybody has a copy of the minutes from the last meeting. Everybody a chance to review them?
Yes.
Any changes, additions? If not, I'll accept a motion to approve.
I will make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Minutes are approved. Is there no public forum this evening? So we don't have a water because John is on vacation. So I guess we just have wastewater. Welcome.
My show.
It's all on you.
I'll give you an update on some of the things that have been happening within the wastewater division for the last month. One of the biggest items is in regards to CSO 007, 011, 039, and 048, the separation project in those areas. We have sewer and drain construction that was completed on Walnut Street, Payson Street, and the biggest item is CSO number 48 actually got closed. That's the one over by Market Basket on Water Street. And now that it's closed, I have informed the EPA and the DP. They were very glad and happy to hear that. They said keep up the good work on closing those CSOs, and we'll hopefully see more of those coming up in the future. Also in that area, we have pipelining that's been going on Delisle Street, Water Street, LaGros Street, and Main Street. One of the biggest items right now is on South Street, from Laurel Street to Nashua Street. There's a new sewer line being put in. Probably seen some of the construction over there. That's going to be closed to vehicle access. It started on June 6th, and it looks like it's going to be going until the end of July. And that's going to be from 7 to 5, weather dependent, of course. At the end of the day, the road detour enclosures are going to be opened up so that we can allow traffic to proceed as normal during that time after the construction is done. So that's for that project. Next item is price increases that we're seeing due to inflation and other factors. We get all our chemicals that are purchased through the Merrimack Valley Chemical Consortium, and they just had their bids opened last week, and it looks like the prices for chemicals are going to be going up anywhere from 16% up to 112% for some of them. And unfortunately, one of the highest increases is the bleach, the sodium hypochlorite. We use that more than anything to disinfect the wastewater before it goes into the water. And so that's going up 112% compared to last year. So it's not just us, the whole state is seeing it. And it's a number of factors, fuel being one of them, obviously. But this will possibly affect the budget next year. We're hoping that with the drought that we're presently in, I mean, most of these chemicals are flow-based chemicals. And so when the water is low, we use less chemicals because a lot of the infiltration is not coming in. Also, with the process improvements that we had with the last SSU project, we use less chemicals than we have before. So we're hoping that we're not going to see that much of an increase with our budget, but we're going to keep a good eye on it to make sure. There's not much we can do. These chemicals we have to use. It's part of the process. It's not like we can just turn one off. The DEP requires it. The next item is rain barrels. This is our 5th year doing the rain barrel program, and we have until June 30th for people to purchase rain barrels to midnight on June 30th. And then we're going to be handing them out on July 9th down at the wastewater treatment plant. Right now, we have sold 77 barrels, and so we hope to see more people purchase them. Fitchburg, the city of Fitchburg residents, we can sell at a reduced cost the first 130, so there's a lot of them still available for people to buy at a reduced cost. And like I said, they have until June 30th to do that. The next item is the sewer system manager position was filled, Tony Merez's position. We have filled it with Ken DuPont, who is the former GIS engineer at the DPW. Kenny has been doing a fantastic job filling in for the last few months. He has an extensive knowledge of the city. Kenny, he knows a lot what's going on. He's been doing a very good job. And the next item is one that we're going to probably have to vote on. It is the funding for the next big separation project. That one is CSO 10, 32, 45, and 83, which is basically the whole area on the north side of town. It's the first of the remaining sewer separation projects that will fully separate the city's combined sewers into separate sanitary and separate storm drain systems. The anticipated project area is primarily the area north of Western Main, including Prospect, Mechanic, as far north as Burbank Hospital, Bigelow Road, Western Blossom Street, and as far east as Mount Vernon Street. This project will permanently close 4 of our very active CSOs, probably the ones that contribute most to the infiltration down in the treatment plant. So when this project gets done, we'll see a substantial savings, not just in the water going down there, but we'll see an improvement with the treatment process and a great reduction with our chemicals, because we're treating a lot of just, groundwater that comes in. This is part of the consent decree. We're mandated to do this. It's going to be $28.5 million through the SRF State Revolving Fund, which provides a 2% financing to upgrade or replace wastewater infrastructure. This is an item that we probably should have brought up last month, but we didn't realize it until after the last commission meeting, that with the time constraint to get this in before the June 30th deadline, that, we had to start rushing and putting it together. So we're here now to get the approval. It's already started to go through the city council to get their approvals. So we think we can hit the June 30th deadline, but we got a short extension to the DEP. So if it takes a couple weeks longer, they're all for it. So.
Okay, and the motion that you're looking for is to recommend approval to the city council?
Yes, the 28.5 million.
Okay.
Rick, can I add a few things?
Yes, please.
So we've asked the city council for $30 million, just to provide a little bit of extra contingency. The way costs are going, fuel, diesel, asphalt, et cetera, it's all going up and not down. So if we don't end up using it, it's not something that, it's a loan, so we just take out a lower cost loan. So we've already got it passed through the mayor's office. He recommended it to city council. It got kicked to finance committee. Finance committee approved it. It got kicked back to city council, but it's got to go through a number of readings before it's finally approved. So in talking with the city auditor, he mentioned that as long as we obtain approval for it here tonight from the Water-Wastewater Commission, there'll be no issues. So this will be a loan through the Clean Water SRF program through Mass DEP. And there's principal forgiveness through this loan program that essentially makes it a low interest to almost a zero interest loan. With the amount of the loan, we're talking about a $2 million worth of principal forgiveness. Yeah. So it's a substantial amount. So it's a great program. It's awesome that we can take advantage of it. The project was submitted to Mass DEP for review and inclusion in that program. It ranked #1 on Mass DEP's intended use plan, which is awesome. That's all the projects that have applied to that SRF loan program throughout the state, and Fitchburg's was #1, so that's pretty impressive. So the total amount for the separation work is anticipated to be the $28.5 million. We're going to ask for 30, and we're thinking about splitting that up into 2 phases, just to basically attract a certain pool of contractors that we're comfortable with, we know, we like. We don't necessarily want one of the huge mega contractors that is qualified to handle the $30 million projects. We'd rather split it up into a $10 million and a $18 to $20 million project to attract smaller contractors that we're more comfortable working with, give us better attention, better pricing, et cetera. So that's kind of the strategy there. I just wanted to add to some of the things Mark brought up.
Thank you, that's helpful. Any questions?
Do you know what the anticipated increase is this year on the chemicals based on last year's usage?
I'd have to go back. There's a lot that depends on the use going forward based on the flow.
I just want to kind of throw a dart. So like, what was the cost last year of, you said there was one chemical that you anticipate 100% price increase?
Yeah, 113% on our sodium hypochlorite.
Do you know what we spent last year on that?
Not off the top of my head. I would say ballpark, maybe 100,000 we spent on it.
So we could have an increase of over 100,000.
Yeah.
Is there anything in a budget that we can look at to try to
We can,
offset that?
when it comes to operating costs, we'll have to look. Yeah. We'll have to make cuts in other areas if we have to, but, this is the area where, we just can't deviate from with chemicals.
And I understand, as I've always said this, I'm on this board to represent the citizens and the best interests of the city. And, we're running a business, right? So when costs continue to go up, sometimes we got to kind of look around and say, where can we trim a little and try to help reduce those costs?
Yep.
I just always like to throw that out there, right? Instead of always putting that tax burden back on the residents every year.
Ratepayer, I agree.
So there's probably a few capital items that we can hold off on to cover the increase in chemical costs. But a lot of the capital projects that we have lined up are per consent decree. So we really don't have a choice but to move forward with them at some point before the year 2030. So
I'm just saying, hey, let's be conscious, let's look around. Are there some places that we can, save a buck?
Yep. And I think we'll have to do that. Otherwise, we'll have to go back before this board and in front of city council to, transfer funds from retained earnings if we run into a shortfall where we can't cover the chemicals. So money's got to come from somewhere. Chemicals and treatment are obviously one of the more important things versus trying to, say, separate out combination manholes or something that's been in the ground for 50 to 100 years.
Everything's important, but I think that what you do, everything is important, but we still have to just kind of say, hey, where can we?
Right.
Yeah, the bidding unfortunately came at a bad time for us. We already got done the budget, already went through city council and through the mayor's office.
Yeah.
With the consortium, we had a meeting last week, and one of the suggestions, and I think they're going to go forward with it, is do the bidding a lot sooner. Probably in March, start the bidding process, so we have numbers in April, and so we can start factoring that into the next year's budget. The downfall of that is you don't get real accurate bids. The closer you can get to the July 1st line is you'll get more accurate bids. A lot of times people 2 months ago may throw out a number that might not be the same number they're looking at now. So there's pros and cons to doing it earlier, but I think next year, because of what's happened this year and a lot of people, we're all done with our budgets. By the time this came out, I would say 90% of us had all our budgets submitted, and it really threw all of us through the loop for what's happening.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yep.
Getting back to this, the request, the $30 million, what is the time frame for that construction? How long is that going to take?
So it's under design right now. It's anticipated that the first phase of the project will happen next summer and be completed at the end of the summer. And then the second phase will start the following year, take up the majority of that construction season, and then may spill over into the next construction season as well. But we're trying to wrap it up within 2 years, so a two construction season time frame.
So at this point, I think I'm looking for a motion to recommend to the city council to approve the $30 million loan request. Is that what I'm looking for?
Yes.
Anybody want to make that motion?
I'll make a motion.
You have the motion. Do we have a second? We have a second. Do we have discussion on that motion? Aside from the fact it's too much, Mike, right? I see no discussion. If not, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you.
That was all I had on the submitted agenda. I had a couple of quick points just to mention, we don't have to discuss it, one is we just found out that the town of Westminster is going to be a co-permittee on our next wastewater permit, since they contribute their sewer system to us. They're going to be required to just maintain and operate their own collection system, and so that's going to be added into our permit. And the last item is the sewer rate. This is the last sewer rate increase starts this month for the last sewer rate study that we did, and we're going into another sewer rate study. And so we're in the gathering information stage right now. So as the months go on, I'll bring back more information as we get it on that.
How much do we spend on a typical study?
On a study, I think the sewer rate study is shared between the water and the wastewater department. I believe it was 110,000 for the whole study. Or thereabouts, if I'm right.
Yeah, and it was split 50/50 between water and wastewater.
Right.
You just mentioned Westminster being,
They're going to be a co-permittee.
what?
Permittee,
Okay, and what about Lunenburg?
they're already a co-permittee of Leominster, and so they can only be a co-permittee of one town, and Leominster gets them.
Good for them.
And they can have them.
Okay.
I've got one other thing to mention. So as you're all aware, Mark's been serving as our interim Deputy Commissioner of Wastewater, and he's done a fantastic job, and he's handled both the duties of this position and Plant Superintendent at the East Wastewater Treatment Facility. So I've been working with HR to make him the actual Deputy Commissioner of Wastewater and not just the interim. So HR has asked me to come before you tonight and just get your final blessing on making that move. So I'd like to make a motion to formally appoint Mark as the Deputy Commissioner of Wastewater and not just the interim. And that'll allow us to also advertise for his former position as Plant Superintendent, which is badly needed at this point.
Okay, that motion is, again, is that to recommend to the city council, or is that a motion that we make here?
A motion to approve of the appointment.
Oh, approve,
And provide that approval to the mayor.
okay. Do we have a second? We have a second.
I'll second that.
We have discussion on that. Hearing none, I'll take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Mark.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate what you do.
I hope to keep you guys happy and do a good job. That's all I have for tonight, for myself.
Any other business? If not, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We are adjourned. Thank you all. That was nice and quick.